Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse podcast here at ProMat 2023. And in the booth, finally getting on the podcast, I think is Matt Fain here of PopCapacity. So Matt, welcome to the show, first of all. I think
Thank you.
I think it's long overdue. We talked
way
about
long overdue.
Ago.
I think we've spoken about it a few different times. I'm glad we could come in this setting here at ProMat to do it, so I'm excited.
Yeah, in the thick of it here, right?
In the thick of it, too. I mean, I've gotten 40,000 steps. I'm only halfway done, so.
You just got here today, right?
Yeah, I just got here today. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about PopCapacity, if people haven't seen you all over LinkedIn already.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully they have. But no, PopCapacity is the first true digital marketplace for warehouse space.
Right.
We use AI, data, virtual touring to create a better buying experience for both a shipper and a supplier. Mm-hmm. Our direct connect modeling allows both parties to speak freely, go in contracts together, and really allows us to be that digital discovery resource, right? I think the only way to do it now is a Google search and phone calls.
Yeah,
I think as supply chain professionals, we are all better than that.
Yeah,
so we're out to change the way that people procure warehouse space.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a great notion there because we are better than that, right? I mean, I think we look around the show as a testament to it. Like so much of us we're going digital, right? So, So why shouldn't these other processes go digital as well? So tell us a little bit about kind of how you got to the point of wanting to create PopCapacity. Like, what was that pain point you had, or that gap in the market you saw?
Yeah, it was a frustration, right? So I mean, I started out in logistics, supply chain management. I owned a 3PL, franchise-based 3PL.
Right.
Sold that, started an asset-based trucking company where I thought I could solve the world's on-time delivery and damages issues.
Yeah.
It was at that point where we got a request for warehousing space, right? It was Nashville, Tennessee, north of Nashville. A unique service requirement, large footprint, but my only resource as a truckload provider, as an asset-based carrier to go find warehouse space was Google. So it was a Google search. From there, 3 pages in, I finally found a warehouse and then started my series of questions, right? I use this example all the time, right? I have two young kids.
Yeah.
And I promise you, one thing that they're not going to do is if they're told they need to go find warehouse space, they're going to ask what technology is available to find it faster. They're not going to pick up a phone and call and email and start keeping an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of information, right? That's not going to happen. So it took about 2.5 weeks to find 4 walls, dock doors, and racks in north of Nashville.
Right.
To me, that was insane. During that period of time, I booked an Airbnb, 5-bedroom, 4-bath, pool, fenced-in backyard. My dog could come within 5 form fields and a payment submission.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was done. And that was that epiphany moment that Derek and I called Derek, our co-founder, and said, look, there needs to be a digital way to find warehouse space.
Right.
Not that we need to sit in the middle like we did when we brokered trucks, because I think that's somewhat unnecessary.
Yeah.
But no, we need to find and create a tool or a hub where people can research, review, and connect all through a digital environment.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes total sense. And like I just booked the Airbnb Friday for the trip here, and we got here on Saturday. So I mean, it's no problem, right? So there's no reason why that kind of consumer convenience that we have can come to like the enterprise level as well. So it's great that you're bringing that marketplace to the forefront and giving that to us in the industry. So tell us a little bit about kind of how, since the idea you had, like how has it evolved and how has it allowed operators to be able to find more space?
So we obviously started out, our goal was to find every amazing 3PL in the nation, right? So for the first 24 months, we were head down making phone calls and emails, the same process that a shipper would, to those 3PLs to get them in our digital environment. So now that we've grown to a point where I think we could cover any major any major distribution hub and secondary cities as well, now it's just putting all that data and all that information that we have about those facilities and aligning those with these scopes of work that come in. So for the first time ever, Pop is going out and actually going and soliciting business, as crazy as that sounds. But we're going out and telling people, hey, we've got the best network in the country, come tap into it in a digital environment. So it's been really fun to see kind of us being very supply, only focused on supply. I think most other companies like say, go find logos, go find brands, go find customers. Ultimately to have to Google search and try to find a warehouse. We wanted to have that solution up front and foremost, so that when shippers and brands did come to us with a wildly different scope or a very obscure scope, we had an answer for it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's like we keep saying, I mean, going to that digital side, I mean, it makes total sense. Like, why would we still go this old school way, right? So when we look at that, I mean, I think the interesting thing too about PopCapacity is like, you're not looking at just empty buildings, right? You're looking at space within buildings too.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about how that kind of works on the marketplace.
Yeah, so we have a combination. Well, we've got a lot of different solutions. So we've got your traditional 3PL warehouse, right? That's this full-blown services, whether it be B2B, D2C. We've got dark stores in that network, so old Kmart's that turned into fulfillment centers, or old retail stores and shopping malls that are fulfillment centers. We work for warehouse space, right? Yeah. So, and they are in this shared kind of small business collaborative working environment like a WeWork, but in a warehouse, right? So we've got a lot of different types and styles of capacity, both from your traditional 3PLs to non-traditional dark stores. We've even started tapping into, and this is probably the most exciting part of what we've done in the past several months, is we started realizing that there's 3PLs, or there's non-traditional 3PLs that have space, right? I'm going to use a large CPG brand. They have 60,000 square foot in Ogden, Utah at any given time throughout the year just because of the way that their inventory flows.
Oh, interesting.
That can make revenue for that CPG brand, right? So absolutely. We're seeing other applications. There was one specifically to Tajon, California, which is Tajon Ranch. It's a big FTZ bonded area right there in California. A large retailer was looking for overflow space. Obviously didn't know their neighbors because we had that overflow space within our marketplace. So it was just a unique situation where it wasn't a traditional 3PL. They were an events coordinator. So they did a lot of large events. So when those events were happening, much like this one, their inventory levels dropped and they had a bunch of available space. So when this retailer said, I need 60 days with the space at this square footage, I need to be within a few miles of this proximity, they're like, we can't find it. Well, that is a testament of us working for 24 months, finding all the little nooks and crannies of capacity that we could find.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing because, I mean, a lot of times those scenarios, like you said, we need the space for 60 days and close by, and, it's usually kind of a scramble situation where it's like, like we have an overflow issue, like we need to grab some space really quick, and going the old school way is pretty hard to make that happen quickly. So it's great to be able to see that and benefit as someone that needs space. But I guess talk to us too about the side of the operators who are putting their space out there too. How is that kind of benefiting them?
I mean, that's who we built it for, right? We built it for the 3PL warehouses to give them, especially the regional guys that didn't have a big marketing budget, right? That had, some sales folks, 100% commission sales folks, but really they stayed full just organically, right? So what we've seen is they've been able to really pick and choose what they need. Not only do they just need to keep their building full, they need to keep it full with the right type of customer, the right commodity. They all have fixed assets that they have to pay for. All right, so our job is to determine what within what you're doing now makes most sense and where you're going to make the most profitability. Right? Whether it be B2B for retail compliance, or maybe you want to take a small footprint and do a lot of high volume D2C out of it because you're seeing that, per square foot you're generating more revenue that way, right? So they're really being able to see, we give them a digital platform to showcase themselves, right? So now customers can read about you, they can view still pictures, and they can also get into a 3D virtual tour. So now they have an opportunity to walk around your building, see the clear height, see the dock doors, see the levelers, all the things that are fairly redundant, right? Somewhat mundane to ask, but they have to ask a question. Now they can see it, so we're seeing our suppliers and our 3PLs really have a better idea of what kind of project that is they're looking at. And then give them the ability to reject it right there on the spot. You don't have to field the phone call. You don't have to listen to an opportunity that may sound and look good on paper. You can visualize it and view it within the marketplace and kill it upon arrival if needed, or move forward with it without wasting unnecessary time.
And I think that's a great thing too, the 3D virtual tour, like you're saying, being able to actually see the space, because not every 10,000 square feet look the same, right? And there may be some situations with columns or pipes or whatever the case may be that can make that space maybe not as usable as it may seem on paper, right? So tell us about how do you guys actually go out and capture these 3D images and these tours? How are you able to kind of make that happen?
Our team, we get out there and we do the 360 work ourselves. In certain occasions, we've done contractors in those markets, but Look, we're a relationship-built company. Yes, we're a tech company, but our technology is just to strengthen and empower the relationship. That's all we're doing, right? So every time that we go do a 360, we like to shake a hand of the owner, right? We like to understand like what makes them tick outside of the money behind owning and operating a 3PL, right? Are you family owned and operated? Is this a legacy type company where it was your dad's and then your granddad's? Like, we want to know what makes you tick because that's important to us. Because we're an extension of what you do. Our job is just to showcase all the cool stuff about you in a digital way.
Yeah, and I think it's a great thing that you're acting like a partner in a sense to them, right? And being able to do that because it's a win on both sides. Like you have, like you said, maybe CPG companies or brands that are looking for space, so you're able to deliver for them. And then on the other side, the operators, they want to get, especially the independent ones, like you talked about, these legacy ones, family-owned companies, like, they want to bring people in and drive that revenue for them. And sometimes the bandwidth is not quite there, right? So you're able to make it a little easier for them and make that happen. I think it's a great thing. So we talked. We talked about the space, right, itself, right? But you're also giving a chance to show or have these operators show what other capabilities they have as well. So talk to us a little bit about that. How the operators can kind of showcase if they have, some of the solutions we see here, robots, automation, or something.
That's a whole large reason why I'm here today is to figure out all the cool, fancy stuff that we can help, promote to our warehouse network. Because honestly, the more throughput that they can handle, the better that our network becomes.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
So the question was, how do you kind of showcase that on the platform?
Oh, yeah. So, obviously through a virtual touring, you can see the robotics and some of the pick walls and some of that. We also like to showcase some of the exterior type solutions too, right? Some of the trucks that are tied to that warehouse, some of the final mile assets, some of the drayage and chassis, stuff of that nature. But all that is listed within their profile. So basically when they build out a warehouse profile, it gives the elements of the infrastructure of their warehouse. It gives the square footage, the location, all the basic stuff. But we also do a drill into the tech stack. And tell me what your pre-built integrations are. Like, are you integrating a certain shopping carts, or what are your e-com integrations? So start telling about the tech stack, and then the robotics and automation piece. We're going to start touching on what are your throughput capabilities. And how are you achieving those with what kind of infrastructure and systems? That's more of an end of the year type thing, but we're slowly consolidating all the data from our profiles to kind of help build that better picture for our shippers.
Interesting. So in that sense, PopCapacity obviously, it sounds like, started with the idea of, finding space and making it easy to find space, but it sounds like you're kind of growing and evolving with that as well from this data perspective. So talk to us a little bit about the future of PopCapacity here.
It's big. I can tell you guys, it's real big. We're just going to take all the data and information that we have under the hood of this marketplace or hub. We're going to stop using marketplace. We're a platform, right? Okay. The reality is that we've seen an opportunity to digitize procurement in logistics, period. It started off with warehousing and distribution centers. If there's assets and truck tied to those warehouses, well, guess what? You can digitally procure those as well. All it is having the information in front of you. So taking that information, aggregating it for both our shippers and suppliers to say, okay, here's the amount of trucking capacity in the land, here's the amount of warehouse capacity, average DIMs, average weights, average commodity, and putting all that information, kind of like a DAT in trucking or a sonar at freight waves, taking any tidbit information that we think would be valuable in making a key decision in your supply chain and putting that within the marketplace. So having some of those insights and reports live within the dashboard for both our shippers and our suppliers to use.
All right, very interesting. And I think that's definitely a great thing to have as well, because it kind of gives you an idea of even like, I can imagine, from the data you're able to see like, what's the cost of square footage in different regions, and even kind of factoring that in as a shipper looking for space or a brand looking for space, like, if we just, if we're like 50 miles away, it's not much of a big difference for our transportation, but we could save so much on square footage, right? So, that having that access to that and empowering the brands to be able to see that, and the shippers as well, gives them kind of that competitive advantage to really make the best decisions.
It's intelligent decision making, right? We have all sorts of information at our fingertips, and I don't know why supply chain or this side of the house was the last person to start leveraging that information, but let's start using it, and let's start being more educated when we go in to make these decisions versus it being reactionary, right? And getting kicked out of a warehouse, and I've got to scramble try to find a new one based on the budget and price. Well, if you had a tool and a resource that allow you to say, okay, well, within this market that I'm in now, there's these type of players that are in there. So in the event that we do need to make a pivot, we proactively know who we need to reach out to first, right? Because we have that knowledge and information. It's just, you don't buy a car without reading about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there should be information about these warehouses and about their capabilities without having to pick up a phone and call them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's great what you guys are doing and being able to enable that and kind of empower people to make these decisions in a more intelligent way, as you said, and also in a faster way too, to make it happen, right? So with that being said, I mean, obviously, you know, you're seeing what's happening in the warehouse space and the market and demand and all these things. So tell us, like, you know, what are we seeing now? Because there's some talk about like warehousing space demand might trail off because people are trying to get rid of inventory now. They had too much inventory before, but I mean, what's actually happening out there? What do you see?
I mean, the market's softening. I mean, it is softening. I really think it's a reset, though, right? I think during the pandemic, we had this big tidal wave of capacity come on board, right? Whether they were a storage warehouse and didn't do any services, and all of a sudden during the pandemic, they started offering 3PL services, or a B2B house turning it into a D2C house, right? There's been several occasions I've walked into a fulfillment center, and that fulfillment center is an 8-foot banquet table, it's a weigh station, and a screen, right? I think what we're seeing is this reset is identifying who is good at what. Not everybody is good at everything. There's not a warehouse that's at ProMat, there's not a warehouse in this nation that does the same exact thing that the other guy down the road does. Right? So I think people are realizing that people don't all do D2C fulfillment. They all can't be high volume fulfillment centers, even though they claim to do it during the pandemic. With the reset is coming, we all can breathe. Right, I think for the past 24, 36 months, it's all been this kind of panic mode, right? We didn't know what to do, we didn't have enough inventory, we have too much inventory. So now people can take a breath, they can evaluate all the solutions that are available and make decisions based on the data that we talked about, based on historical information and facts that happened in the past. I don't know if warehouses are closed. I just think that they're going to be more strategically placed. I think there are going to be more facilities with one business, and one company is going to have more facilities than they ever have. But it's going to be the right inventory levels, the right amount of square footage. I mean, we're seeing right now large customers we work with, it's the year of efficiency for them. Right? And that does not mean closing all the distribution centers. That means understanding the infrastructure we have now, what business units, because they have several different business units within this company, how can we consolidate that infrastructure to accommodate all 3 business units versus acting as individuals? And I think you're going to start seeing more and more, especially more companies that have various verticals and sectors. How can the automotive work with the chemical brand, right? How can each business work together to create a combined infrastructure, right? And they'll start eliminating those that way. I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, you can't go from not having enough warehouse space to all of a sudden having too much and closing warehouses. It just it doesn't work like that.
I mean, I think no matter what, we're always going to need some warehouse space, right?
Always.
But I think, like you said, you know, it's about like you know, looking and seeing, like, you know, this is a year of kind of creating more efficiency or optimizing in a better way, and you know, seeing and looking and, you know, are we really in the right position? And, you know, should we get closer to the customer with, like you said, in some cases, you guys have department stores that were converted into fulfillment centers, which is really interesting. So definitely interesting to hear about the kind of what's going on in the market from you. So, you know, guy with your finger on the pulse, right? So we're here at ProMat as well. So I'm curious, as you're coming to ProMat here, and I think I saw your LinkedIn post. You made like a last minute decision to come here and check it out. So what are you excited to see here? Or what are you excited that you've already seen this morning?
There's a lot of good people here. I mean, I came for a handful of folks I need to reconnect with from last year. This is always one of my favorite events, right? It's huge. It's got a lot of cool technology, a lot of cool innovation specifically to the warehousing and MHE side, which we're very, very close tied to. Honestly, I'm really interested to see some of the container offloading solutions, right? Some of those automated offloading solutions, because I think like a forklift going to a container, or a guy going and hand loading off, that is a super cumbersome task and very manual. And in previous years, I don't think I've seen anything that, you know, there's some stuff that can do it. It requires additional infrastructure to be automated, which then messes up the layout of your warehouse. So I'm really interested to see what kind of offloading automation they have as it pertains to like larger MHE or materials.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. I mean, I think it's like such a tough job to be doing that, unloading, especially like you said by hand, like floor loaded containers and things like that. So it's great to see.
Your neighbor here, Exoskeleton, and they got some cool stuff that kind of helps out with that. Less automation, but more support. But it's really cool, man. There's all sorts of stuff going on at this show every year, and it's always new. So,
all right, great stuff, and great to get some insights and learn more about PopCapacity from you.
Awesome.
So, if people are interested in learning more about Pop, how can they do that?
Yeah, just go to PopCapacity.com. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Follow us on all those. I'll probably shoot myself for doing this, but if you want to reach out direct, it is Matt at PopCapacity.com.
All right, flood his inbox. You got that?
Yeah.
All right, so and definitely follow Matt on LinkedIn too. He's a great follow. So Matt, thank you so much for stopping by and
thank you.
Finally able to connect and make this happen. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.